So inside Easy C, the first thing we're going to do is make a new competition project. We're choosing competition project, and we'll look at why in just a second. You just go ahead and press OK. We're going to have our main, we're going to have our initialize, and we're going to have the two main things as an autonomous. So anything that you put in the autonomous section will only be happening whenever the switch is configured for autonomous. And then we have our operator control. So we're going to put our RC code. So let's start with this. For this example, we'll look at a four-motor chassis, and we'll look at some of the options there. And then we'll switch to a two-motor chassis. So four-motor chassis, we've got all these in joystick. We've got arcade and tank. Arcade means that you're going to have one joystick, or you can have multiple joysticks, but it's going to operate differently. One joystick is going to control forward and backwards. That same joystick or another joystick can control turning. The tank is going to be, the left side will be associated to one joystick and the right side will be associated to another joystick. So depending on what you want to do or how you want to allocate those joysticks, this is what you'd want to do. I'm going to grab arcade 4-motor. It's very similar if you do 2-motor. So just think about it this way. Joystick is going to be number 1. When you look at the joystick, you're going to notice that you have either the right joystick, which is 2, which is forward and reverse, and then 1, which is side to side. This would be where you would switch it. So if you wanted it to be, I drive forward on the left joystick, that would be 3, and then rotate would be 1. That way you can't rotate by accident on the other joystick. Really your preference. If you want to do left joystick only, you do 3 and 4. If you want to do right joystick only, you do 2 and 1. And then you just pick your motors, whatever your motors are. And the biggest part about this is that there's this option to invert direction here. You can invert direction depending on where your motors are plugged in. You don't have to worry about doing it hardwired. You can just kind of set it up here. What I recommend doing is get it working the way you want in the operator control first. Get that done first. So put it on there just the way it is with all the zeros in the invert direction, and then lift up the robot and drive forward. If it's not driving forward the way you want it to, then you need to switch and adjust the things in the program. Once you've set it up as your driving is correct, then you go in and do what we normally do in our in preparation for our user functions. We go into the online window and set that up. So here all we'll do is click, let's say these are the right locations for our motors. You can see from the little diagram, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I press OK, and there is my control for my arcade drive. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and we're going to look at the tank motor, tank 4-motor. You can see similar setup. It's just going to be how you're going to be working it. And now you can see on the transmitter channel, we've only got left channel and right channel. So you want to put your left on your left, right on your right. That's how simple it is to set that one up. On the 2-motor, we'll just look briefly at this one. With an arcade 2-motor, you'll notice that it has a spot for your left motor and your right motor. There's only 2 motors there to work with. Now again, these are for the joysticks. The joysticks give analog input, so it'll give you a range speed-wise from 0 to 127, or from 0 to 100% speed. And those we use for that purpose. For a lift, you'd want to do something different. So I'm just going to leave this the way it is. There we go. We got our arcade set up. And for a lift, we would want something more from the digital buttons. And so on the robot controller, there are digital buttons. And so we're going to go down to joystick, and we're going to go joystick digital. Joystick digital to motor, or joystick digital to motor and limit. Either one of those, depending on what you have set up as far as your sensors go, would be very useful for you. So we'll start with this one, and then you'll notice that the limit switches are just, you added those in. So on your joystick, you've got your left bumpers and your right bumpers. The left is, I believe, 5, and the right is 6. You'll notice those on there. And then you also have 7 and 8. Those are those 4-button arrays on there. And you can look at where those are, and it has even a number on the joystick. So when you look at the joystick, you can find out that you want to set up. Let's say you want your joystick preference as far as your driving. You want to drive with your left joystick, so maybe you want to do your lift with your right bumpers. So for that example, we'll just do channel 6. This is where we test. We put in. I'm going to say when I press the down button, I want the motor value to be 127. When I press the up button, I want the motor value to be negative 127. So we tell it if we want to go up or down, and then we just pick which motor port that motor is plugged into. Let's say that motor is plugged into 9. We just type in the number, and we press OK. Again, we're going to go ahead and test it. We're going to run it, test it. When we test it, if it was incorrect, easiest thing to do is change these numbers right here, button number 2, button number 1. And just make sure when you press the upper button, it goes up. When you press the down button, it goes down. This is how we set up our drive and then our joystick digital to motor, and you can set those up for any of the buttons that are on there. So I picked channel 6, but you can also pick channel 7 or 8. So if I pick 7, now I have down, up, left, and right options for those 4 button arrays.